the grades now start to count as when you jump into that first classroom the first day of school.
What do
Agreed.
you guys? Do you guys agree on that? You know, the weight room, the education part from going from youth to high school football.
I,
I
I
believe it's
can.
both. You're correct.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. With school, definitely with education, especially being in the. I did public school for a couple of years, especially with private when your classes are accelerated and they're much harder and that part of the aspect of being able to learn and especially on the physical side of you got to hit the weight room. If you don't, you're gonna be a day late and a dollar short.
I say $2, but y'all nice. I'm mean to kids. I tell them truthfully. And the whole thing about they and we as parents and as coaches, we got to stop sugarcoating it for them. You know, I don't know about you all, but I was raised in the '80s and the '90s, and sometimes honesty wasn't the high. Wasn't the honesty wasn't the priority on people's lists, but they gave it to us. Nowadays, we just don't want to be honest with the kids and tell them that you got to keep your grades up. As soon as you hit school, parents be like, "Oh, how's your class, Jimmy?" And Jimmy like, "I'm good." And knowing Jimmy 3 weeks in failing math already. And then
Yep.
you get to the thing, and then most schools nowadays, especially in my district, in Pennsylvania, we play in the boundary line, so we don't have the major prep schools. So Jimmy could be playing on the ninth grade team and not even caring, knowing that's going to count, even if he ain't playing varsity.
Right.
So
The
so
four
we
for
we,
four,
we
the
as
4 for
parents, we
4
got to
rule.
stop sugarcoating it. Stop being nice. If you want your kids to go to college, you need to jump on their neck. I'm sorry. You need to make sure you're enforcing education first. And then if you want them to be in the weight room, go ahead. Make sure you're putting them in the weight room, but make sure it's someone who knows what they're doing. We get these janky trainers, and then all of a sudden, everybody become a trainer.
I
That's just
agree.
me.
Go ahead,
Maybe I'm
guys. If
just
you guys can just have a nice parallel conversation. You guys are the coaches.
I mean, I see a lot of that too. The school I work at now, it's a middle school and high school. So we have the capabilities of seeing a lot of our talent that we're going to have. And just a lot of the points that you touched on, not caring about the grades. We all know they're going through stuff, trying to figure out themselves as young men too. That's a big thing that I see. They get into trouble that they shouldn't get into. But I know that's part of growing up. But you know, for us, we have a kid that's coming into ninth grade. He moved from South Carolina, really good running back. Really didn't get into too many trouble, but now he's getting into trouble. ISS every other day, lunch detentions, just little small stuff that just shows that he's just not focused. He already's telling me he's not going to be able to make it to a lot of the spring practices because he's focused on AAU basketball, which I'll never try to compete if you want to play another sport. But I just would like to see him be a little bit more committed to the process of what we're trying to do here.
and see that I agree with you right there, Coach. I know everybody wants to be a 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 sport athlete. But at the end of the day, boys, what's your love? Because I mean, me myself, I'm gonna keep it real. Like I understand, you got your girlfriend and you got your mistress. Okay, football's your love. That's your girlfriend. Everything else, that's the second girl. That's the side chick, as y'all call. I mean, you can't give your dedication to the one main person that you're supposed to give it to, and you need to get that dedication. You need to learn how to eat right. Most of these kids where I'm at, they don't even understand to have a nutritionist and a specific position coach trainer and a trainer.
Agreed.
And then you got to have the
No
person,
doubt.
your counselor that's in your corner talking about, let me help you get registered for the NCAA clearinghouse at a ninth grade level if you got the good grades, so you can start to get that attention and that buzz for your career. See, most of it look at is just I'm going to high school.
I think we lost him.
Yeah, he'll be back
I'm
on.
sorry, they be
There he
calling me.
is. They be calling me. Shout out to Voice Sports.
But I think one
It's
thing
just
also,
they be trying to call me, and I'm trying to explain to them what's going on. Y'all about to take a tour of me while I take this drive to pick my son up and talk to y'all because he's, matter of fact, just getting out of the high school weight room. But let me explain it to y'all. It's a formula. If you don't know the formula of how to help kids get there, then we're
By the time I get the warrant, it's old enough that I feel like these guys have settled down and think they're safe. The whole warrant will just
But
You
yeah,
what?
I
Can y'all
definitely
hear me? I apologize.
Yeah, we can hear you now, Coach Twilight. Go ahead.
Hold on, let me back out.
Good. If you guys want to pick up where he left off, just till he comes
Yeah.
back in.
I mean, a lot of the points he hit on is definitely things, I see. Another thing is, school I coach at, it's not a predominantly football school, so I'm trying to build a tradition here. The school I was at before, very good football program. The city loves football, so I'm trying to build that here. But a lot of parents are, a little query about having their children play football, and that's another issue that I'm trying to get through because I understand that there are situations where it can be dangerous, but I personally feel like all sports have that same sort of thing that you can go through. I understand football can be a very hard hitting sport, but lacrosse is hard hitting, soccer is hard hitting. They all have their, situations, but that's something that I'm trying to fight through myself, just trying to get the numbers up.
No, you're right, and you could get hurt like getting out of bed. But I know them non-football towns, the non-football communities. It's really tough to explain to them, what we need to get a good program together. So I know what you're up against.
Yeah.
You know,
for me, what goes on the most. You deal with parents. We were talking about the ninth graders coming in. Let's be honest. It starts with DNA first. How big are they? How small are they? Just like some parents have this idea of they're 5'2" D lineman think he's gonna be the next kid that goes to a Power 5 school, and that's not going to happen. So it's also about being realistic about what that player brings and what can you do for him to have fun for the next 4 years of his high school career.
And I think that's the biggest thing too. We got to remember that we got to make it fun. I feel like the more fun we have, the more kids will have coming out, more enjoyable the practice will be. I mean, we still want to, be stern and teach them something at the end of the day, but that's something I'm trying to work on, especially with this year. From watching a lot of the tape and talking to former players that were at this school, it just seems like they don't have fun here. It's just football is not fun. So,
what's your school enrollment like?
It's low school. We're 2A here in Florida. We have up to 8As in Florida. I believe we only have 1,300 school students enrolled. But then again, like I said, it's a middle school and high school, so the school's split in half. So it's really low enrollment.
I would kill for 1,300, but I'm a private school, I'm a small private school in Maryland, so like 450 from 9th through 12th. So
yeah, I would say probably
us. Deal with those dual athletes.
Yeah, and I mean, but we don't have a lot of sports because we don't have a lot of funding, so they don't have a lot of the other sports as other schools. This is a big baseball school. Chipper Jones went to this high school, so it's a big baseball school and soccer school, more than it is a football school. But we got some kids that want to come out. We definitely have some talent that I think in the next couple of years that we definitely can build on. But it's just going to be a process just to keep them engaged. Like we have a weightlifting program. We got a lot of kids coming out. We got a 8th grader that's getting up there almost to 200 pounds. It's probably going to have to play tackle for us. But just trying to keep all the kids engaged. That's the biggest thing for me. More numbers, more bodies. Not have so many people playing both sides of the ball. Had a lot of injuries. Stuff like that.
That goes back just to my experience of coming from youth ball to high school was the practice tempo.
Yeah.
Went to a clinic years ago, and it was a former SEC D line coach at a Glazier clinic, and one thing that he was talking about was if you have to say a sentence, keep it in buzzwords. Keep it short. Keep it in buzzwords. Keep it short and sweet, and go and do it that way.
Yeah, I agree. That practice time, going from youth football to high school is a lot different. Especially if you're at a smaller school like me, I have to coach multiple groups, so everything I kind of just have to have a plan of what I want to do every day and keep it moving.
Coach Twilight is back. No sound, Coach. No sound.
Can't hear you, Coach. No. It's like you're on mute. Check and make sure you're not muted.
Yeah, he might have to tap out and tap back in to get his sound right. Tap back out, coach, and come back. How do you guys have any help with as far as from your administration, with the assistant coaches and stuff and the high school coach I'm talking about? Do you have trouble putting a staff together because of there's only so many paid slots, or is your school everybody got a paid slot?
Um, well, that's part of the reason I went to this school. I was at another high school before they were, very big, you know, winning state championships, regional finals, but I was, just volunteer and I wasn't really doing anything but just helping out or putting some equipment down. This school, I mean, they don't have a lot of money, but they are willing to pay me something. The athletic director, they just hired a new athletic director. I liked his energy. That's really why I decided to go to this school. They have high dreams and expectations. And so, I mean, I wouldn't say every coach is paid. We definitely do have issues finding assistant coaches and people that want to coach there. But you just got to do what you can, Can't cry about it.
No, you definitely can't. I see that a lot. That there seems to be a problem with funding to bring in good coaches, and volunteers are only going to do not all. There's some great volunteers, but some at high school level, you might only get volunteer work.
The state of Florida has a big problem paying their high school coaches. That's why all of them are going to all the other states.
I'm a
You
private
back,
school, so I don't
coach?
have those
Can you
issues.
hear us? Oh, you
What'd you
don't
say?
have to worry about that, huh?
What'd you say,
No, being a
Coach?
private school, most of the time, all the assistants are usually paid, so you usually don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
And I think that becomes a problem, especially if you want to build a championship team. Now, these administrations are only giving you a couple seasons. You got a couple of years to build something. And some of the private schools, it's nice that they have the funding. And public schools, you want to compete. I guess that's what you have to do is bring in some more funding, bring in some quality coaches.
Yeah. I think it's hard. It's a lot harder now. The numbers for people wanting to play football are going down a lot more. You have to convince parents that, like you said, their baby's not going to get hurt. Uh, it's just a lot more difficult, but it's something that can be done. I still enjoy it. This is what I want to do. This is what my passion is. So I'm, going to keep grinding, you know, to the last breath that I have. Coaching football. That's just what I want to do. So. Um, it's not the perfect world like I thought it was going to be, but it's definitely doable.
All right, let's see if Coach Twilight fixed his sound yet. Coach, I can hear you. Nope. Can you hear us? We can't hear you yet. All right, you can hear us. We have a problem hearing you. I'm not sure if you have a mic in there, Bluetooth mic. I'm not sure why I can't get sound from Coach Twilight, but we'll let Coach Twilight figure that out. You're definitely unmuted. So yeah, sometimes when you're driving around, it's just a little bit tougher to get it done. But what's your greatest part about being a coach in your particular program? We'll start with Coach Walker.
The greatest thing about being a coach in my program, we're a brand new staff this year. So with the school that I'm at now, so we're trying to. That's because it's a small team and we got 10 guys that are energetic, full of energy, ready to go, make things happen, and try to see what structure and things that we can put in place, and overall, again, just change the culture and make it be what it once used to be.
And how about you, Coach Fitz?
I like the kids that are there, man. I'm not gonna lie, they really grown on me. We start first spring meeting on Tuesday, and I work at the school too, doing some other work, and just a lot of the players and stuff. I really enjoy the kids. I really feel like we're gonna be able to grind and get some stuff done. They're good kids. I mean, they're hard headed. They act like kids, but nothing that I don't feel like I can handle. So I wake up every day and I can't wait to go see the kids. So I enjoy the kids that are there.
Now, I want everyone to know that Voice Sports actually has the Unfinished Business Tour coming up. We're going to have the dates and the event streaming at the bottom of the screen. Definitely go check that out and, check out everything Voice Sports is doing. They actually have reporters in 22 states now covering local youth and high school high school sports. And coaches, if you or anyone on your staff wants to come on your post games once your season gets started, we do post game interviews for head coaches. During the season, we have a bunch of coaches that are on now. So if anybody's interested in promoting their program, promoting the kids, we have college recruiters from Ivy League school that are in our audience. NCAA championship schools. UMass Dartmouth won the championship, the New England Bowl. So you guys are more than welcome to come on during the season and promote your program. I just wanted to offer that invitation.
Okay, this is something I'll definitely take a look into.
Oh, appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. But if you guys want to maybe one at a time talk a little bit about your program, just to let other people know, maybe people can judge what goes on in your state may not be what goes on in their state because the cultures are definitely different.
Yeah, you could go ahead and start, Coach. I've always started every time. You can go ahead.
You good? My program is, like I said, is a very small private school here in Maryland, right outside of Baltimore, in a town called Savannah Park. It's in the MIAA, what we call for that conference. They have 3 divisions: A, B, and C. We're in the C division based off of just the competition level and things like that. But trying to build it back. It's a very lacrosse and I guess sailing school, a strong school. So football has been a pretty good sport in the past years, but since COVID and a little bit before COVID, it been on a decline. And so just trying to build it back. But we're gonna get there. It's gonna be hell or high water, but we're gonna do it.
All right. I'm in Florida with FHSAA. Not really a big fan of them, but I'm not gonna get deep into that. But we're here in Florida. The coaches, we're still trying to figure out what's going on. They just pretty much switched up how they're going to be doing the playoff systems. So now I think we're going to be moving to where we're going to have, I think, a total of 14 to 16 state champions now. They pretty much cut the state in half. They're going to have the bigger counties just play each other and let the other counties, which I fall in that, just be suburban, and we just play each other. So everybody's still trying to figure out what the schedule's going to mean, who we're going to play, because we just finished doing the schedules, but we might have to redo them because a lot of the teams that we play will be in that metro district now. So they may not want to play us because they may want to keep their ranking up a little bit higher. So it's just a lot going on right now. We're trying to figure out what's going on. We also heard some things that there could be some separation from Miami and Orlando and Tampa from FHSAA. So we're just trying to see what's going on with that. It's a lot going on right now.
It seems like the realignment process gets crazy in every state.
Yes.
It becomes a problem realigning teams. It seems like they never know where to put teams. They never know, the alignment here, and I'm in Rhode Island, and it's like an upside down show. They just had one of the New England clinics, and I actually call some of them football clinics the rumor clinics because the way the rumors fall around some of them clinics, it's crazy. Like, you guys supposed to be there paying attention to football, and all the rumors are behind realignment processes and who's going to play where, and is it going to be points. Here in Rhode Island, the league wants to pick 4 teams, and then they want the schools to fill in the rest of the schedule, which some schools have trouble finding one game. Mm-hmm. Never mind letting them be responsible for a bunch of games. Joining the panel is Coach Najee Barrows, Westerly Bulldogs line coach. He has a lot to do with the program, he hypes the kids up, he hypes the stands up. But Coach Najee Barrows, I want to welcome him to the panel. He should be tuning in a minute. His mic might be off. Let me see if I can shut it off. Nope, there he is. Coach Najee.
Good morning, gentlemen. How's it going today?
Well, good. How you doing?
Coach Najee, we're having the discussion. If you want to introduce yourself, tell them where you're from. We're having a discussion bringing kids from youth football to the high school level, and you have experience working with the youth. Now you're a high school coach. What do you think is most vital from kids going from youth football to high school?
It's just gaining the proper experience that'll be conducive to the high school experience. They just got to make sure that these kids uh, are on the right path and are learning the newest stages of football that's going to be utilized at the high school level. So we just want to make sure that they're not getting an archaic version of it and then all of a sudden thrown into the fire and not really understanding the newest innuendos of the game. So it really starts with the youth coaches making sure that they're in alignment with what the high school programs are running. Not necessarily that you have to have an established feeder system, but be of the same mindset of the coach and where their game is headed, especially if that kid is going to be playing in that district.
I agree
You
with
guys
that.
want to feed off that?
No, I agree with that. I mean, the school I coach at, we don't have a feeder system, but the high school I went to back in the day, we had a feeder system. And like you said, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but just give them some familiarity of kind of what they're going to see, what they're going to do, the role that they might play, because it definitely helps and goes a long way. It just helps everybody out. So I agree with that.
So, coaches, at what
I
point
wish I
do
had a
you
feeder
believe-
system, but being up.
Yeah, now is a feeder system something that why don't we have those, so to speak? What is it? Is it more of an individual based effort between the high schools and the youth? Does the high school or youth feel like they're not equals in the upbringing of that young man? Because essentially we all believe that, we all use the adage that it takes a village, but sometimes the village has subsidiaries that kind of go on their own way. You know, is it
For me, I'm sorry.
Okay.
For me, because like I said, this is my background. Being I'm in a private school setting, there's no way that we can have feeder systems, to be honest. And plus, in Maryland, there's no middle school football. You go of the youth ball all the way up to 13U to 8th grade. So having kids, some of these small schools like myself, they're ninth graders coming in, or rising ninth graders coming in, they'll turn it into being sometimes varsity players. It just depends on your school size and what happens for numbers and things like that. So that turns into you got to start figuring out with coaching, what can you do to make this work for a season or building for the future. Public schools don't have that problem because they can work with a feeder system, but in a private school setting, I don't know unless we're depending on what turns into those other problems. You know, tuition. Do you give out financial aid? Do you do this? Do you do that type of stuff? So it gets kind of muddy with those waters. So you're kind of just at the mercy of who the administration, who the admin admissions lets into your school, so you can start working in the spring when they start that year to become football players. But Maryland also doesn't have, as Coach was talking about in Florida, y'all got spring training. I don't, but technically I can work all year with my guys if I want to.
No, yeah, Maryland. I mean, I'm actually originally from Maryland. I was born in Maryland. But we're under the same umbrella as far as Rhode Island. We don't have an established middle school program, so to speak. Our youth programs kind of run age-wise all the way right up to, like you said, 13U, 14U, which preps you right before high school. And you're right, the private schools, they might have their own vested interest. So yeah, there's really no feeder system, so to speak. But it's about educational feeder systems, right? So the feeder system, as far as the coach's tutelage, even though you might not be talking scheme wise, but we're talking about for instance, a youth football program running a single wing discipline, and then all of a sudden this kid's transition into a more advanced offensive setting without knowing anything outside of that respected tutelage in order to prep him for, say, a spread offense if he's going into something like that with a bunch of different wrinkles in it. And how is that kid going to fit in that particular role? He's going to have a lot of regression before progression as he gets into that ninth grade year. Is there something, even maybe like uh, like a time frame where we can kind of school these kids up. And I know maybe I'm just shooting at the stars here, but it's all about trying to prep these kids to the next level, right? And then high school, from high school to NCAA, and kind of have that role there. And that might be us kind of stepping it up and being in that mentorship role, even more so to teach the game, right? Because I know a lot of us get caught up on, in winning and losing, and try to strive to make sure that we increase football IQ, right? At the end of the day. I think as long as we're on that kind of time, then we're going to have great athletes, student athletes that'll strive in a bunch of different settings.
I mean, at my school, we don't, like I said, we don't have nothing like that. The school is a baseball town, softball town. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse. A lot of the kids never even picked up a football before. So it's good because I can just work from them from scratch and teach them the way that I would like them to be taught. But it does get a little frustrating because like this year, we're probably going to have to play a lot of 9th and 10th graders on varsity. And, those kids maybe only played football 2 years. It's definitely something that we're trying to work through. I'm definitely trying to talk to coach to try to maybe even find a team that we can put in the city, or just talk to maybe some other Pop Warner coaches around the area and see if we can work something out, because I do think that's something that's somewhat important to just have everybody on the same page. Just makes the transition a lot smoother, keeps their confidence up. Their kids, they start messing up. They might feel like that they can't do it, and then they get in their own head, and then that's another battle you have to go through. So
now, you think that, because that's a very common thing that a lot of coaches go through, is especially unexperienced players, right? And the fact that you have to cycle through a lot of kids that might not have the football experience. I mean, we have a few places here that are predominantly towns that you could say is another sport, right? Like you said, you come from a baseball town or what have you. So is that kind of our approach as coaches, to make sure that if we do have that, if we are in that particular environment, that the product that we're putting and that we're teaching is conducive to an environment that doesn't cater to football? So, like, for instance, I just had a conversation with a coach. I just came from a clinic last night, and his issue was he comes from a town similar to what you were saying, baseball town, but they're not known for size. So his challenge was, how does he deal with, having the smaller kids not being confident enough to go against another sizable team with much more experience? So we started to think about the blocking schemes and the base offense and defensive philosophies that he could possibly interject with having those certain athletic or fundamental issues with his program. So he decided that, and we decided that possibly going with like a duo blocking system. I know duo is really popular these days. I don't know if you guys have really been talking about that, duo versus inside zone or outside zone. But really, duo is kind of like this new sexy blocking scheme that everybody's a lot of guys are incorporating into their programs, because it doesn't really rely on size in order to accomplish, in order to have success. You familiar with duo, coach?
Yes, I've heard of it a little bit. That's something I definitely try to pass on to the head coach to see if it's something he would like to look into. He's more concerned as, we are a little bit smaller, do a lot more angle blocking, striking specific points, not really worried about moving them, but just, making the correct angle, because we're not going to have the bigger guys. I mean, we go up against schools that have kids that are going to Georgia, Florida, some of the best schools in Florida. We don't have any of those kids. So we just have to work with what we have. We're going to have the plays that are going to get blown up. There's nothing we could do about that, but I just really want them to just keep fighting, keep grinding. As long as you keep fighting and keep grinding, the tide will eventually turn.
Yeah, man. Just keep instructing them that their successes are not necessarily measured in wins and losses, right?
No, it's not. Just keep fighting. Don't give up. Keep grinding. It'll turn.
Oh yeah, absolutely, coach.
You guys are doing a great job. You guys can keep up on some conversations. I mean, you guys are the coaches. I brought you guys in here to but I love what you guys are doing, man. To the private school coach, I do have a question to the private school coach. Do the private schools,
Yes,
do
sir.
you get accused of recruiting high school kids all the time? Because up here in Rhode Island, Bishop Hendricken is constantly getting slammed for recruiting. I mean, they're the most successful boys' private school in the nation as far as a year ago, from last I heard, and they're constantly being accused of stealing all the good kids. Do you have that issue?
I'm not. We have a school that seems the pick. They get all. There's like we call it the IMG of the North with St. Francis.
We got one too.
Yeah, St.
So,
Francis, like,
you know,
Aquinas,
they
Aquinas.
if you get you got St. Thomas Aquinas in Miami, but then here in Baltimore we have St. Francis, and if you got a good kid, yeah, sometimes they get going real fast. But they're a good team. They do what they do well, and there's nothing that we can do anything about it. But recruiting wise, we do. All the schools do it. It's just about the level of how the level of how financial aid is done for the other schools. It's also about the recognition of some of the name brand of the school, marketing part of it. Kids, it's funny. I was having a conversation with a coach yesterday, and I'm a traditionalist. I'm from Alabama, so I'm used to wearing this black cleats, white socks, pants, and call it a day. And he's like, "Oh no, these kids care about they care about the drip more than they do about the jersey stuff." I said, "What's that good if you're 0-10?"
Yep.
Yes, exactly.
But the kids care about that. That whole the recruit.
Yeah, it's
The other things
it's
I've seen is I think it's the arms race.
Yep. I see that a lot. It's not about just winning. They got to look good too. They got to be picture ready at all times.
Yeah, it's almost a prerequisite for these kids.
It's the Deion Sanders motto, like this. It's the whole Jackson State way. You look good, you feel good, you play good. I'm thinking to myself, that's true, however, but if you're 105 pounds playing a team like Coach said, you got kids playing, they're gonna line up to play for Kirby Smart, Nick Saban next year. That ain't gonna do it. That ain't gonna do me a bit of good. That we got neon green uniforms.
Exactly, and let's get to the play good part first. Then we can worry about you looking good.
Exactly. I did a show with Voice Sports a couple weeks ago. I did a show with Voice Sports a couple weeks ago, and we did a segment, Kiss It or Diss It, on uniforms. And I wish I had the picture uploaded, but we had a picture that the team was in, it looked like Burberry. It looked like they took grandma's curtains and made uniforms out of them. And I said, these poor kids, they look way too small.
And a lot of these coaches now are all designers. Everybody's a designer and just wants to be the loudest thing on the field. Well, they're louder than whistles now, man. All these uniforms are crazy. Burberry, Louis Vuitton, all that crap doesn't belong on football fields, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm a traditionalist in that regard. But yeah, the kids, man, being vain, and is a prerequisite almost these days, man. Because like you said, Coach hit it right on the head as far as the Deion Sanders effect, right? Well, everybody's prime time because everybody's got a phone and a camera. Deion had a camera feed always following him, so he showed up for the camera. Well, now we carry cameras on us every day, and all of these kids have a perceived audience, right? So it doesn't matter. Some of them are on there for the skill set. The other ones, man, shoot. As long as I look good, you perceive that I am good because I wouldn't dress this way if I wasn't, right? and that marketing aspect, I mean, you see it trickling over now with these kids getting all these huge ass signings in college, for their likeness. Now, how does that trickle down? Now they might not be getting deals, but they're getting what they want, right? And it's their ego fed. They're getting paid in ego, and that's what these kids, man, they're thriving off of that. And that ego, sometimes they can monetize it, So how do we as the older generation that wasn't exposed to that type of living, how do we get through that, and how do we help these young men guide themselves through a time that we're still learning how to deal with, that's still evolving?
It's tough.
That's the hard part, because because
it's
you
tough.
try to figure that out when with like summer, like when you do workouts. You're doing stuff and it's technically not mandatory, but you know what, you like, hey, you want to win, you got we know the fall is won in May through August,
Yeah.
or even before that, depending on how your school has done an off season workout. And these kids, and I tell them at the end of the season or during the season when they that you're playing for pride and stuff, and I go, don't be sad now. It's about where were you on that vacation to wherever, to the beach in July when I told you, hey, we got workouts, and you said I can't make it, or I can't do this and I can't do that. That's when it's won and lost. So I'm one of those coaches on that aspect where I'm like, don't cry now. It's too late for that.
Sure. I tell my young man same thing, coach. I tell him this, man. If you're not willing to do it every day, you'll never beat the kid that is. You'll never beat the man that's willing to grind every day if you're not willing to do the same or more, right? They have to put in that work, and now they have the gift of seeing. They got the gift of seeing their stars work. They get the gift of hearing their stars tell them the secrets of what they do. Man, we didn't have that growing up. I couldn't talk to Warren Sapp and LT and figure out what they was doing so I could do what they do and maybe get on that path and think how they think, listen to the music, eat the food. You know what I mean? If I was a quarterback, man, I want to know that Tom Brady was eating avocados, not find it out 30 years later and figure out, man, maybe I could have ate avocado ice cream and threw the ball like that. You know what I'm saying? But when I tell so it's like, well, we can't fight the times too much, so we got to get with it to a certain respect, and maybe kind of teach them how to utilize what all this is. You know what I mean? Utilize this special gift that you got called a cell phone and internet for your knowledge, right? And try to take some of the vein out of it. Now, naturally, I try to spin it with fun, right? So we use a little bit of that as motivation because you can't take it out. So you got to interject it in our own way, but maybe mold it in a productive way. Because maybe we are raising some marketing geniuses here. Maybe we are raising some future coaches and team owners and player representatives, right? That could be the path for some of these young men. They start on the football field, but they're going to be in the offices doing what they do here, right? Marketing these kids and becoming what have you. So we do got a few of them. But maybe as coaches, man, we got to kind of bend a little bit with the times and try to utilize this for our benefit and their benefit as well, right? We got to grow with them.
Yeah.
No, you're right. But the other thing is, we were talking about, the uniforms and doing stuff. Or we're talking about 7-on-7 trainers and all this stuff. I was at a school years back, and I had my whole secondary. Because I was a DB coach at the time. We're all at trainers. Here's the problem: they're all getting various trainings, and I'm thinking to myself, and their parents are paying hundreds and hundreds and thousands, thousands of dollars a year for this kid's training. Then we get to practice, and I go, well, heck, none of this. I changed my coaching aspect because they were learning different things, and I said, well, hey, am I going to deprogram and waste all season to get better? Or do I have to bend myself to figure it out to work with it? And I end up doing that, and all three are playing, or we're playing college football just because of that. So it's one of those things you got to check your pride, like you said, check your ego at the door, or if not, you're gonna end up losing and getting that bad name of that bad reputation out in the community.
So, Coach, did you end up reaching out to those trainers, or did you just have to?
I did.
So that's what I was asking, right? Because I also train kids on the off season, right? As far as I run an offensive and defensive line gym in Rhode Island, and I also come into that. I also come into that, right? So one of the things now getting into that, we was already inundated with that particular problem. You get a bunch of different coaches that are teaching different things. Now, naturally, we want our kids to grow fundamentally and what have you. But like you said, if those fundamentals aren't in alignment with what you're teaching, then now we have an issue, right? We have a fundamental issue at that point, and we're gonna hit roadblocks, especially if it's not conducive to your program. So one of the things that I know I strive to do was contact coaches, right, to ensure that we're not teaching scheme, we're not scheming your kids away from what you're delivering, But also, coach, we want to have a conversation to make sure that what we're working on is going to benefit in the season for this young man, right? So you got to kind of track all that. And I think that that's something a lot of these trainers or, coaches or what have you that do it in the off season, if we're going to put ourselves out there to help all these young men, you got to take the extra step and make sure that when they go back to their program, that you worked on the right things that's going to help that kid excel in that said program. So you got to have respect for those coaches, right?
Yeah,
So
no
I'd
doubt.
I encourage all coaches to get with these trainers, find the ones in your areas that your kids are utilizing, and have that conversation with them. Hopefully respectful, right? I mean, but we're all ego guys, so that does happen. But
I
try
agree.
to get a lesson plan together, just like you would with a tutor or what have you. Same thing, right? This is nothing but athletic tutoring, to make sure that the lesson
You
plan
sound a
is
little
done.
far away, coach.
Yeah, he might be fixing something. But what do you guys think about what he was saying?
Um,
No,
I mean,
I
I
agree.
agree with.
That happens. Go ahead, Coach Spence.
No, I definitely agree with a lot of stuff he's saying. What I do in that situation, because you have a lot of those issues, I try to find a couple players that really want it, that don't mind getting a little dirty. We all might have one or two of them at the school. I can even find it at my school, and I kind of lean on them to get on the other players, to make them come to workouts, make them come to certain things that a lot of times kids just don't want to hear from an adult, but if they hear from one of their peers or something like that, you might be able to get them to come out a little bit more, and things like that. So that's something that I've noticed that's worked a lot, where I was able to get just a lot of voluntary stuff I wanted to work with. I just found a couple kids that really wanted it, and they just convinced a lot of the other kids to come out there.
Linemen in your places, do you think there's a need for more things for linemen to do? We see passing leagues popping up. We see.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I think the main thing is that frustrates me is people, getting in their stance. That's always very frustrating. I mean, I love when I have to rebuild it from scratch, but a lot of people, they come with their own ideas. Like I had a kid pretty much trying to tell me that the way I was teaching him how to get into a stance was not the proper way to get into a stance. Uh, Replacing the hand with the foot. That's another big thing that I see a lot, that I wish a lot of people would just, teach a lot more. But I think just all positions, just not, defensive line, offensive line, all positions could definitely use a little bit more love. I think everybody falls in love with the 7-on-7 and the quarterbacks and the receivers. And I think that kind of hurts football too, to me personally. Quarterbacks aren't really going to be sitting back in the pocket for 5 to 7 seconds, able to try to find a pass down the field, or however long they get them. These wide receivers aren't going to get that free of release all the time. So I'm not a fan of the 7-on-7s personally. I mean, I like them, that they're good for the kids, but I feel like it hurts sometimes more than it helps, especially for the smaller schools where you have some kids go out there and they bring stuff back that they really can't use.
Coach
No, I agree.
Najee, I'm sure you got something to say.
Yeah, I'm biased. I'm biased towards the trenches. Biased towards the trenches, but you know it, man.
We don't need linemen, do we?
Oh no, you need. Come on now, the big uglies, man. That's it, man. I agree. I mean, we got. I mean, but myself, I already have my D line already coming together, working out. That's just something I just want us to build that. So that's something I've been working on, because in Florida you could do any kind of football work you want. You just can't have a football, which works for me because I don't need a football for a lot of my drills. So we
Ain't
kind
these
of
rules
already.
like stupid? Like some of these
Yeah.
rules are just like, my platform. I built my platform to speak up for coaches and to call out administrations and just to talk about things that other people don't talk about. You coaches, you guys are not allowed to say anything. Your administration gets mad left and right. So I built my platform to handle all of that. And I applaud all you coaches, everything you guys do. And I just wanted to like say thank you to all you guys for all the work that you put in. And yeah, that's about it.
Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate that.
You
Appreciate
know,
all you guys doing your work.
definitely.
Appreciate it a lot.
You know, you guys can continue your conversation. I'm gonna take my dog out real quick. But I love the football talk, man. So you just keep it going, and I'm gonna share this and try to get some more coaches up in here. And if you guys know anybody, they're welcome to come along in. If anything's ever pressing, if there's you say, Mikey, I need to get online now. You know, I'm always willing to get coaches on to talk their piece. So you guys can take it away.
Okay.
No, but I got a question. I got a question for both coaches. Are y'all both educators or other y'all work at your schools, or how's that work for y'all?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah, I
do.
work at the high school as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make money. It's kind of hard to find a job. You know, Florida, you know, they don't pay their high school coaches pretty much anything, but it's kind of hard to find another job that can, you know, work with the time demanding that it takes to be a high school coach. So I definitely work at the school.
Yeah,
I'll make it easy for all
I'm at
y'all.
the school as well.
Our whole program, besides one coach, is rest of them are also non-teachers. They only work at the school.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually made the transition from being a union electrician and took the dive into working with the kids just so I could have more time, more availability because union construction, industrial construction is not conducive to coaching by any means.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
It can't be 2:30 and say, hey, I got to leave the site. I got to go to practice. Holla at y'all.
Yeah, that don't work too well, especially if you're in leadership. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we're gonna shut this down. We're gonna shut this down, fellas. I got practice. Yeah, that's not gonna
they're gonna be like, yeah, before you leave, go stop by HR before you go home.
Yeah, for real. Pick up that gift they call your last check. We're gonna pay you a little early today. And yeah.
We take checks in the mail. Checks in the mail. Let me know how that I-formation is working out for you.
Yeah, for real. Good luck, man.
Are any of you coaches going to any clinics? Have you went to any clinics, anything like that?
I've been doing YouTube clinics. That's all I've been doing. I haven't done. Glacier usually has one in Baltimore, and they didn't have it this year. Then they have it down in northern VA, and I was like, that's a hump for driving anywhere from between Baltimore down by Dulles Airport. So I didn't do that. And of course, we had a lot of cats that just did the Glacier up in Atlantic City this weekend. So I was like, I forgot all about that one. So I've been doing a lot of just
virtual.
Being a defensive guy. I've been doing a lot of virtual stuff, but I'm also COVID taught me so much during the whole time for the hiatus. I was a single high safety 3-5-3 guy. Mm-hmm. Then I had some of my players were going to Power 5 programs and doing stuff. And then me and another DC friend of mine, we started looking into the match quarters with the 3-3-5 and the 4-2-5 nickel stuff. And that's another question I'll ask later about with coaches. Do you do what's best for high school, or do you do what's best to help your program to maybe start having players that do go to college to be college ready, so to speak? I know it's a fine line between that, because how many for defensively, how many single high teams do you see in college? None. Yeah. So why do high school teams still do it? Is my other question.
Well, I could tell you that we sit down a lot with our recruiters, making sure that we try to run stuff similar to what the schools are running at the NCAA level at the schools that are around us. So we do try to emulate that through scheme. To kind of show a single high safety, even though we might not be doing. That's the reason why we kind of when we took over our program at the high school level, we really interjected duo and a spread into a team that was traditionally single wing. before we got to this program, our school passed for less than 500 yards on the season since 2012. And then we come in with a spread duo system, run for almost 3,000 and pass for almost 3,000, and kind of change the culture in order to be more conducive and palatable to what the NCAA is running, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a fundamental change that we had to make. And then to put those players in positions to be recruited, ask the coaches those hard questions. What are you looking for beyond, the gift of size? Because we all know size is not a skill. I mean, size is a gift. Size is a gift, right? So what are we doing to make sure that we're always, trying to pass on and enhance those gifts, right? And put some skill to that. So we absolutely, we definitely try to strive to make sure that we're in alignment with the NCAA, so to speak. Like you said, you do got to work with the tools you have, but try to find that fine line best you can.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just came from the Glacier clinics in Boston. They did skip over. For some reason, they didn't hold it in Baltimore, like you said, Coach. I can't understand that, but they did hold it in Boston. I know it's a 6-hour drive for you up in Maryland. But yeah, we just came from Glacier, and then we also had another one this weekend called the Big New England Football Clinic, which have a bunch of different universities come through. Couple high school coaches that were highlighted at the film, at the clinic there, and they had a bunch of different stuff. But Big New England is a pretty cool one that we all utilize down here. So been to 2 clinics so far. I think Nike has one coming up, and I know Glacier is a Nike Coach of the Year. That one's coming up too. But there needs to be more, right? I know.
Yeah.
I went down to Arlington one time to try to go to Duke Manyweather's lineman OL Masterminds clinic there. But there needs to be more like that. There needs to be more clinics, even position specific, right? That talk about scheme and that talk about the smalls and the innuendos of play for us to evolve the game, for us to be showing even in the smallest techniques of that we're evolving, having our linemen, for instance, in a kick step. I know the coaches I'm sure you guys know as well, the coaches at the NCAA level, when these offensive tackles, for instance, are kick stepping back, they want them to land with their instep, not on the ball of their foot, right? And it's those small little practices that if we can show these to our linemen, it shows that they're on the cusp of the game, that there's one less thing that coach has to go over, that this kid's tutelage is on the right path and maybe in alignment with that particular school. And I know it's those one small things that kind of get those kids noticed versus ones of similar character and size.
I agree with that.
No, that's definitely one, because both of y'all, because Coach Fitz, you're an O-line coach?
I coach defensive line, and I'll be wide receiver coach this year at the school.
Nice.
Gonna be the best blocking receivers ever, right?
Yeah, they're gonna have no choice but to be.
Man, that jam on the line gonna hit something different, boy.
We run a whole bunch of power and a whole bunch of counter. They're gonna have to block something, or they can't get on the field.
You gonna press the soul.
D-line and receivers. And coach, your linebackers, correct?
I'm O-line, D-line.
O-line and D-line. Oh, okay. So with O-line, so let me ask you this. What are you seeing more? You seeing more 4-man front, or are you seeing more odd front?
We actually see both. So the odd front starting to get utilized, and they're trying to hide that and mix it up with that 53 type 33 blend there. What we're really seeing is the change in the athlete, the change in the utilization of the athlete. These DNs or these outside defenders are starting to get faster and leaner, right? And so that's what it seems to be changing there. Now, as far as the 40, or as far as that odd or even front, that could be dependent on the personnel that they have, right? But we are going against teams now that are coming out with something more conducive to the offense that's being presented.
Got you. Because for me, I believe like I said, I've been an odd man guy, 35 and a 33 guy, but I'm turning now, instead of being a 505 technique, I'm starting more being, everybody's turning into being the 4-eye, 0-4-eye, the tight front more than anything, to make, especially for against the spread teams, to be able to make those double happen.
Hey guys, let me interrupt you guys. You guys said, he just actually signed off, but we actually have a college recruiter that just tapped in from UMass Dartmouth, so we'll get him back in here. Oh, here he comes back on. Ryan McCormick, UMass Dartmouth football. Welcome. How you doing, Coach?
Good morning.
All right. I thought this was, we had some coaches on earlier, and Coach Najee was bringing up some recruiting things, and I just figured it would be a good time to introduce yourself. There's some coaches up in here, so I'll give you the floor, Coach McCormick.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late to the show. I was actually going to come on earlier, but I got bogged down with some stuff I was working on. I'm trying to finish up this class, 2022, so we're still like knee deep in it, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah. So, coaches, you have any questions that you want to ask Coach McCormick? He's a Division III recruiter, UMass Dartmouth. They just won a championship bowl last season.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
Congrats. What are some of the main points you guys are looking for, as far as like defensive linemen? As far as what are some of the first things you look for outside of replacing the hand with the foot? I mean, the hand down with the foot.
I mean, if you're going to go more broad spectrum in our scheme, we can't have guys that can't move. So, like, if you can't run and get off the ball, we want them to be as big as they can be, but as athletic as they can be. So, if you're more athletic at say 270 and faster and more stamina, we're going to want that guy at that body weight than if he's 290. Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on their build and their frame. We look for kids that can move and that can run, and rush the passer. And obviously, you always want to stop the run, but and guys that can bend. So, you start touching on more like very detailed, like footwork and like steps, and that's important too. Obviously, when you start to break down the fundamentals and body mechanics of the defensive linemen, so they don't have bad false steps or don't have bad technique. But the things we look at, the bigger picture things we look at is obviously, can they bend? If they're really stiff, that becomes an issue unless they're crazy strong and crazy fast off the ball. Like, if you can't bend, then you better at least be able to run and you better be able to move cars. So, like, if you're stiff and you're okay strong and you can't get off the ball and you can't play in our system. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, I get you.
So it's really first glance look that's going to get your attention, Coach, not more or less, like you said, the minutia of it. I think what you're probably looking at, you're focused on the minutia once you get you in front of them. So it's really just dynamic application. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good analysis. So, like, when you watch film, and depending on how the quality of the film, as far as how clean it is, you're going to look for big picture things first. Like, are they strong? Can they run? Can they bend? Do they play with leverage? Do they understand like situational football? Do they, all those things matter. Like, are they taking plays off? Like, those are the big picture things we look at. When we go to camps and recruit at prospect camps, that's part of it. But then it's other stuff you're saying, Coach, where, all the little intricacies with defensive line play, like you say, replacing hand and feet and like leverage and all that stuff, technique, body mechanics. So, like, and then you see how coachable they are. That's the other thing is, like, if you try to teach them, they just don't take coaching and they just like keep making the same mistake over and over and over again in a camp where you have one-on-one attention with them in a prospect camp, so that becomes concerning. It's like, well, can you break their little habits or get them to try to not keep doing them? That's important.
So
No,
are you
I can't hear you.
so as a coach, as a defensive line coach, so to speak, should we be looking to make sure that our scheme and approach is emphasizing those small critiques that you're looking for, so that we can show that this kid's athleticism, or naturally, I guess, down distance and application, can scheme get in the way of a kid's IQ? And how would you be able to make that determination?
I mean, things have changed a lot in the last 25 years, as you know. I mean, the whole game has evolved. So, yeah, I mean, if they're doing some old school stuff that's not applicable, that could be a concern. So then you look at the athleticism, the whole body of work. Is that kid worth recruiting based on everything else? You're weighing a lot of variables. You know what I'm saying? So, if they're in like a multiple front and they're doing things that would transition to college football, then that's good. If they're doing things that are very old school that doesn't fit anymore or have minimal value, then you got to look at the rest of the student athlete and say, well, is he a good student? Okay, is he coachable? If he's coachable and you can teach him other stuff, then that's not as much of a concern, because you can build him out. If he's not coachable, he doesn't take coaching as well, and he's you do a drill like say 30 reps in a row and he keeps doing it wrong after you keep correcting him, that's a concern, because it's like any task. If they just don't fix it and they keep making mistakes, they're not learning from it. They're not applying it, what you're trying to teach them. That really limits if we want to recruit that kid or not. So that's a big deal. I mean, we run both an defense, and I coach running backs, but I coached D-line for 14 years of my career. So, for example, we're a multiple front team. We do a bunch of Donnie Brown schematic stuff with pressure, and sometimes they're even, sometimes they're odd. We do some Jeff Castile stuff. He used to be the defense coordinator years ago at West Virginia. 07, he was the defense coordinator of the year in FBS football. He's really best friends with our head coach. So we kind of have a melded system of those two guys' system that's kind of a hybrid. So sometimes they're even, sometimes they're odd. We also do personnel groupings, which will mix and match body types to attack the offense, based on down distance situational football. So different body types could be out there. So we change a lot, which is different than what other people do. So it's a little bit different than how we do business. But sometimes we'll have a bigger D line out there and more of a run stopping situation potentially. Sometimes it'll be smaller and more athletic. It just depends what we want to do based on what the offenses are doing.
And does that shape your recruiting?
It does. So we're trying to, I had a conversation with the defense coordinator a couple weeks ago. We were talking about body types and what he needs, what he wants. So I sit down and it's like creating a puzzle. So we're trying to fit the holes in each personnel grouping on defense to fit we have some more like edge type guys, like outside backer, edge type end guys that we need. Then we have some guys that are more bigger ends, like anchor type ends that look like 3-tech DTs that we need. So, and we're very upfront in recruiting. We tell our kids, like, listen, you're not going to play every down in defense. It's very rare because we do personnel groupings. So, some kids like that, but I said, listen, my attitude is we're gonna blow it out. Like, we have guys out there. Our attitude is you're not going to be tired because we're going to rotate you based on personnel groupings. So we want you to, if you're out there 15 plays, 20 plays, or 40 plays, we want you to really push the tempo. So on defense, so that allows us to be fresh, allows us to really get violent downhill, and we play a lot of press man and cover one. It allows us to be much more physical in the box and much more aggressive. So it's worked for us. We ranked 25th in the country in defense in D3 out of 240 something teams. So it's definitely going in the right direction. So, but yeah, it affects our recruiting big time.
Thanks, Coach. I know I'm firing a lot of questions.
Any other questions for Coach McCormick?
So, Coach, another question for you. So, a young man pumping on film, what should we instruct him? How long should that film be? just as a quick reference. So they're not sending you
So I tell kids, listen, your film should be between 3 and 6 minutes tops, and the first dozen plays should be your best plays on that film period that you want to showcase. Right, your first 2 plays should like really pop off the film. I don't care that like you're having like a sack dance after a sack. That doesn't wow me. Like I want to see you do things that are game-changing things that pop off the film. You know, as we get into the recruiting process, they can always share with us their full game films. We can dissect that. But like, if your initial film is just like, you know, where you're doing something that doesn't matter, it's like, why is this clip even on here? So I've had kids send me 10, 20-minute highlight films and like, listen, after the first 30 plays, I can figure out if you meet the first tier of getting onto our board, and then a deeper dive will dictate where you are on our board, and then how that works out. And, you know, because like we're not gonna, you know, if the kid doesn't have anything good at all for 20 plays and it's like an 8-minute film, I'm like, whoa, you know, what are we doing here? So, and we've gotten those, and it's crazy. You'll get them and be like, what? Who made this kid's film? So, and yeah, you laugh. I tell you, Coach.
I'm sorry, man. No, but it's so true, man. It's so true.
I mean, the other thing that happens, it happens probably like 10 plus times a year, every recruiting cycle. I get an email from a kid, and he's like, Coach, I play offensive guard. You know, I'm 5'10", 180, but I want to transition to wide out. And I'm like, dude, this isn't Pop Warner. You can't just like go from offensive guard to wide receiver. Like, it doesn't like this isn't like that's like I got an email last week. I was like, what? So I literally was trying to envision how this kid thought this was actually like a possibility.
You got
And
abs.
I'm like, we have wide receivers that run 4.5s and 4.4s. I was like, what was your 40? He's like, oh, 5'4".
So it's not just this problem.
5'4".
I was like, dude,
Hey, man.
you can't even get off the line. So
Play guard.
and like he's like, well, you know, I could always bulk up to like 220. I said, we call that a tailback. So again, you're still running 5'4", so I don't know where we would play you.
Good Lord. So coach, when you're evaluating a kid and you're looking at his film, he's got a great film, say the kid's killing it. How important is his level of competition in your evaluation of a player?
Huge.
Okay.
If you take plays off, or when you're down by like a score or two and you just start like, you know, being mentally weak, like I don't want that kid, like, because there's gonna be games where like we're down and we need to raise the bar and stoke the fire and lock in and just chip away at the tree, so to speak. So like we had a game this year against Westfield State where our team literally did not get off the bus, right? We had gone up to Westfield. It was a long bus ride. It was an earlier game. It was a noontime kickoff, and, you know, a 2-hour and 20-minute bus ride. And we had left UMass at like, I don't know, like 7 in the morning. Not even, like probably like 6:30 in the morning. So it was a long bus ride, and I was worried about that because it is kind of a long ride. So we get out there and literally for 2 quarters, we look like a Pop Warner team. We made a million mistakes. We didn't coach well. We didn't play well. And at halftime, we literally like snapped and locked in, and we started chip away in the third quarter, and then we like flicked a switch in the fourth quarter, and suddenly like we scored 20-something unanswered points, and the other team didn't know what happened to them. And that's all mental toughness. It's very easy to like tap out and be like, well, you know, I guess we're going to lose. Like, but that's not the mentality of the kids we recruit. So a lot of times we look at like the whole body of work of that kid. The reason I go to high school games, and a lot of guys don't do this anymore. They don't go to high school games. They kind of like they just recruit off the film and recommendations, and that's fine. But if there's a kid that's really like high on our board, I want to know. I'm going to go to that game, and I'm going to figure out what they look like when they come off the field on a bad drive. Are they coachable? Are they locked in? Are they having a temper tantrum, throwing the helmet down like they're 5 years old? Like, you know, you don't get brownie points for throwing your helmet off the ground. That doesn't help you. That doesn't make you a better football player. I want to know if you're going to go to the bench, get hydrated, lock in, take coaching, fix the mess you had that drive, mentally, physically, and then technique, and then go out there and execute. Like that's what matters. So,
So what
all
about
the drama stuff is stupid. Like, so, we tell them, our guys get to the bench right away. We lock in, we start fixing everything. They hydrate while they're fixing everything mentally, and then we go back out there and flick the switch in and roll the machine. So, if you can't do that and you're a mental midget as a recruit, I'm not touching you because I can't fix bad character. So, I'm not a social worker. I'm a football coach.
What about the athletic level of their opponent? Is that something that you weigh in your recruiting, like the level of the team's competition? Now,
I mean, to some extent, but like, here's the deal: like, we've had kids come from D4 Rhode Island, which is a much lower level, smaller schools, and I look at the kids' ability both against good opponents and bad opponents, and also, that's when we go to prospect camps. Like, I tell kids, go to prospect camps. I want to see you compete against better kids. I want to see how you react, how you deal with it. So
you
100%
agree to go to, so you 100% agree to encourage these young men to go to these prospect camps in order to face better opponents.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because I've been wondering about that one myself. I get a lot of kids, there's a lot of families come that say, should I go to this? Should I go to this one? Should I go to that one? And I'm like, but then again, like Coach said, you're 5'4", 180. Ain't much we can do if you're playing guard at that size.
So Coach McCormick, how does one differentiate between a quality camp versus a money grab? How are we able
any
to
prospect camp run by university is not a money grab. So like the Ivy camps are great. The any FCS camp, like I'm a guest coach every summer at a bunch of FCS FBS camps. Those are not money grabs. They're one-day camps. They're meant strictly for recruiting and development. And they have guest coaches from D2 and D3 as well there. And they're well-run camps. So those are I would target. I mean, I think the key with like the flag leagues for the skill guys and non-linemen is really kind of like repetition, and that's good for them. But that's really a development thing. It's almost like dovetailed to lifting, like whereas like a lot of coaches do like lineman programs, which is kind of like the lineman version of the skill guys doing 7-on-7s, and those should be done daily, if not every other day, to some extent, because it's development in the off season. That's not technically a camp. That's just long-term development. So the prospect camps are like almost like the tests, so to speak, and those things like 7-on-7 and and the lineman training stuff is more like the prep for those. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's my analysis.
No, I appreciate that, man. So really, we should be keying in on any camp that's run by universities. Those are the ones that you really want. Those are the hot button titles that we're looking to promote to the parents and the laymen of the game. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, so it's like kids play for, like, my middle daughter plays ice hockey, right? So you do the trainings with people to like develop your skills daily. So like you can't be good at a skill if you don't do it every day, and having somebody to train you is better than trying to do it yourself because they're pushing you. They're looking at the little intricacies of what you're doing. The camps are really the test, so to speak, to showcase what you've been doing on a daily basis. Like I call them periodic tests. So like you can, win that stuff.
Is there any way we can go to find that information or upcoming camps, possibly?
Yeah. So like right now, the biggest thing that's huge out right now is all the Twitter. So like all the college coaches all the D1s are starting to post on their team's Twitter page their camps. So that's where you're going to find them.
Okay. So I got to step my game up on Twitter.
I wasn't a big Twitter guy, so when about 4 years ago, all the coaches and staff, or a lot of them were younger than me, except for
in my
coach,
life.
and they all like, "Hey, you should be on Twitter." I'm like, "What the heck?" Like, I didn't know what the value of that was. And then once I got on there and started seeing it, I was like, "Whoa!" And so we can get transcripts sent via DM on Twitter. We can get your film. It's so quick. It's so automatic. It's like a digital billboard networking thing. It's kind of cool. So again, I wasn't a big Twitter guy originally. And then once I started utilizing that tool, so to speak, it became very valuable in recruiting. So, I mean, all the FBS and FCS guys use it.
Thank you, Coach. I will be on Twitter.
Well, Coach Najee, if you were listening to the podcast, you would have known Twitter. You go to Twitter. Coach Willie Edwards said it. Coach McCormick said it in the past. So
Here comes
I'm
the bus.
reprimanding you, Coach.
Here comes the bus. Let me lay down for Mike. So
There you go, man.
I tell you, I wasn't a big Twitter guy before. I was like, what? So I used to joke around with coach and our staff. I'm like, what am I going to be like tweeting? Like, I'm in the bathroom now. I'm tweeting. I'm going to practice now. So it was like, they're like, no, like you got to go see what it's like. And so they kind of set me up and got me on Twitter, and now it's been a great tool. So it's like anything. There's all these new resources and things, people doing stuff. Podcast wasn't a thing years ago. Now it's huge. So everything evolves, I guess, with technology.
Thanks, Coach. I will stop my Twitter. I'm gonna start tweeting soon. Get my Twitter on, but I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you answering all those questions. That was some valuable information, honestly. And I know a lot of us are going to be looking forward. Anybody listening is going to be looking forward to passing all that knowledge you just blessed us with, man. Really appreciate you taking the time.
No problem.
So, Coach, we was also talking earlier. I know I'm throwing all the crap at you, but it is what it is. I know you can catch.
Anyway.
We was talking about what.
No, keep going, Najee. At least you're keeping it interesting.
Well, what should we do as coaches, right? To be more palatable and interesting to a college. Do we change our schemes? Do we start running things that's more conducive to what you guys are running up at the NCAA level, so that you can envision our players in your system?
That doesn't hurt. I mean, I would start everybody goes to, like, for example, everybody goes to clinics to learn from coaches, and learn different techniques, what's changed and evolved. We have a big network of coaches we're friends with, and up and down FBS, FCS, and our staff, and so we're always like looking to evolve. So so you're trying to always keep ahead of the curve, both in play design and also drills and things to build on yourself to do those plays. So it's the same type of thing. What I suggest is start really, and you can do this through Twitter actually, and a lot of these coaches are on Twitter. Start following them and reaching out and emailing other college coaches, and you're really like building your network of like your real life library of people. And some people will respond and really help you out, which is great. And some people are not great people, and they'll selfish and they won't respond, and that's how some people are. But I found that more than 60%, 70% are really good people that just want to share knowledge. And because the more people that are doing good things and developing kids, the more players there are that can help teams. So it's like if you got a bigger grocery list and you got the money to buy it, that's what's better than that. So and that has to do with like recruits. So no one wants high school coaches or youth coaches to fall behind, because then there's like a disconnect with the top college level. So I found and a lot of coaches have been really helpful to me, and I've built relationships that are very valuable both in recruiting and development, and it's really good. So I tell a lot of high school coaches, go reach out to D2, D3, FCS, FBS coaches, and build your network.
Okay. Well, so let's talk about the other side of that, right? So we're talking about utilizing social media for the benefit of it. Are you guys paying attention to any of these kids' social media for negative negative issues.
Oh yeah, I mean we're always,
And,
this
and,
thing
and
that
does
pops
that
up
and
that's
does
really
that
odd or just not right or just negative or disturbing. We have check the boxes on kids, so like that, that would be a positive or negative check the box on that kid. So if they put something that's like really like risque or like inappropriate or just foolish, that's never good. And so if that's kids on the bubble of us taking them or not taking them, they could throw them off the bubble. If they put something that's like really over the top, then
so
we're
what if
going to move on.
so
Because
what if this kid checked every other box, right? Showed you all of that stuff. He's coachable. He's big, strong. He's everything you want. But he's got to check it. He got to check it past or hell of a negative social media. Can his social media? What I'm saying is, can his social media presence lose you a scholarship?
oh, definitely yes, that would definitely lose a kid a scholarship. So you got to think like there's a little over 100 FBS teams out there, and and right around 100 FCS teams. You're talking like 200 something teams in those two levels, right? FBS are 85 full head count scholarships. So there's over a million high school players. It's a big ocean of fishing and not a lot of boats, so to speak. So when you're going to give a kid a full ride, an FBS full ride, you can't be wrong. So at that level, when you get to that level, it becomes very, very, very attention to detail as you go up the levels because there's a lot of kids to choose from, and there's only one of 85 scholarships. So at that university, so yeah, I mean, you put something that's really not smart on there, like
Maybe I
or
misspoke,
something,
Coach.
even something as negative like where you're joking around about not being a good student. They don't want to like college is harder than high school academically usually. So as far as what you need to do to do well as a student. So if that kid's just like not taking high school seriously or being disrespectful in any passive aggressive manner to teachers or putting inappropriate things or racist things or just being a bad person, like that school's gonna be like, listen, there's a lot of kids that want that slot, so to speak. So
Yeah, I think I misspoke. I meant to say college opportunity, and that would kind of encompass even the division,
oh
even the
yeah, so
levels
like
that
so
don't
like we
offer.
don't have this massive roster, right? So we only carry numbers 0 through 99. We only carry 100 guys in this roster ever. So there's kids we turn away every week in recruiting and we say no to, and they're not bad football players. Just don't fit what we're trying to do here. They might be a decent ball player somewhere else, but they wouldn't fit our offense or defense or specials. And so if that kid's putting stuff on social media that's negative, I'm going to be like, listen, we're moving on. Like, I don't need that. We've built such a chemistry here as a program, and a lot of programs are like this. We're just going to move on. I mean, it's an opportunity, and there's again 1.1 plus million high school players, only roughly about 60,000 college players. So we're kind of in the buyer's market. The recruit is not. They only think they are, but they're really not when you do the numbers. So it's no different if you have 100 buyers for 10 houses. Well, that means 90 buyers can't buy those 10 houses. So whoever's bid they take, they put in, find anything negative in that purchase that house, they're going to move on to another buyer. This is the same thing with recruits. So it's not a good fit. We're moving on. So yeah, social media can definitely destroy your recruiting. We've had kids get blackballed across college football completely. But we talk. Right? What people don't understand is that college coaches, we talk a lot with each other, even though we're recruiting the same kid or a couple pocket of kids. If there's something really weird or off about a kid, we might reach out and be like, listen, because no one wants we call it a cancer, a bad kid going to a program and destroying a program, because an individual kid can do that. So if he's a really bad egg. So for us, I'm honest with like, hey, there's been kids that were on our board that fell off our board and was off everybody's board in the Northeast region, definitely, because we just said no one should touch this.
Oh wow!
Wow!
And it's not just, and social media is a big piece because obviously it's out there. It's like a digital billboard.
Yeah.
But like even like stuff that gets back to us through coaches, where like the kids doing crazy stuff. We've heard of kids getting thrown off teams and done some messed up stuff and continue to cause drama. And same thing with parents. Like if there's a parent that's a nut that just thinks that they're going to push their agenda of their kids starting or playing, and they're going to cause drama, that doesn't fly up here. So that kid
Really?
could be 86 because of the parent. So
Really? So the parent could actually affect the overall decision process too, huh?
oh, totally.
Wow, that's pretty good to know. That's pretty good to know.
I mean, when I go to games, you understand. I try to figure out who the parents are of kids we're recruiting, and I'm like a fly on the wall. I'm just listening to the banter of good or bad, and I'm like, okay, look, mom and dad are saying these things. That's very bad. So that's going to filter if we're going to keep recruiting that kid or not. So, because again, when you're recruiting a kid, you're recruiting the whole family structure, right? Whoever who's mom, dad, grandma, whoever is their
Yep.
parental person.
Now we all hear the rumors that Ryan McCormick is the hardest working guy, in the recruiting business. What time do you start your day in the morning?
I'm an early riser, so like I would say at least 3 of the 7 days a week I'm up at like 3:15.
Wow.
6 of 7 days a week I'm always up before 4, if not by 4, and 1 day a week I sleep into about 4:30.
And
So
how many games a week do you go during football season,
Sleep in.
high school football?
so it depends on when we're playing, and like that it's a puzzle. So on Friday nights I'm usually at like 2 games a night minimally. If we're playing later in the day on Saturdays, I try to catch a 10 a.m. game if there is one that I need to look at. So I'm usually seeing 2 or 3 high school games a week, every week minimally in person. And it all depends. I mean, I probably see between 35 and 50 games a year in person, high school, give or take. So it's a
Uh,
lot of games. I get to see a lot of games.
what
Um,
do what do seniors right now in this class need to do to make the
the
May
class of
deadline?
22 that's almost done, and the class of 23.
Say 2022.
Well, if they haven't applied yet, and they're kind of just spinning their wheels. They need to get their rear in gear like yesterday. They need to, because like right away, if a coach asks them for a transcript and they can't produce it, that's a red flag. Right away, like if you're a high academic student or a good student, you should have your most updated transcript copy of the unofficial, scan it on your laptop or your cell phone as a picture, so you can share it with that coach via DM, Twitter, like immediately. One, number two, you should have your highlight film already made. Shouldn't be. And the minute a coach asks you to apply, you should apply within 24 hours. We had a recruit we moved on from just recently that, I asked him to apply. He said he was going to apply, started it kind of, and 5 weeks go by. I keep asking him, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I got to finish that, coach." It's like, listen, man, that's not how we roll. We're a tempo offense, so we want to go really fast. We're a pressure defense with personnel groupings, so we ask you to be high attention to detail and be up tempo. You're telling me you can't do that by taking 5 weeks to even try to apply, and we gave that kid a fee waiver code. So what's your excuse applying? Not money, it's effort and laziness. Well, that's not what we're about. So I said to him, "Thanks, but no thanks. Go somewhere else." And so he was very upset and didn't like what I had to say. I said, "Listen, this is a life lesson, man. If somebody offers you an opportunity and gives you a fee waiver code, you takes 5 weeks to apply, like something's wrong in Whoville." So, if somebody gave me something and asked you to do one thing within 24-hour span and it cost you a thing to do other than your effort, you don't do it, that's on you.
And we've seen that with great players. That
Love the
they took
football
their
reference too.
time, and it ended up costing them college careers. And the other thing is, D1 and D3. Everyone's like, I'm not D3, I'm D1.
I mean, here's the thing: the whole we've had multiple NFL teams reach out to us about our players, about looking at film, looking at players. I mean, and the NFL is designed by design of the collective bargaining agreement and the cap. They can't just get all D1 high profile players because they won't work with money. So they got to find the hidden gems in D2 and D3, and they do now a lot more than ever. So for that kid, like if you're good enough, they're going to find you. First of all,
True.
And second of all, like just because you were to get onto a D1 roster doesn't mean you're going to play or star to be a superstar in the NFL. So I tell kids again, there's 1.1 million high school players, 60,000 college. So it's a really elite kid playing collegiate football. And so, the whole D1 or bust mentality is crazy because these schools, if you have the grades, because you have to have a minimum core 2-3 at FBS, they can't even touch you. So like if you got good grades with the financial aid packages that schools give out with merit money and stuff, sometimes that other than FBS, because FCS isn't headcount scholarships, it's equivalencies. Sometimes our packages are better than an FCS school, and they gave you a partial football scholarship. So we've had kids look at that and go, we have a quarterback coming in here this fall from Florida who had a partial scholarship FCS, and we were still $20,000 cheaper. So, and an earlier opportunity to play. So he said, you know what, I'm going to go there to UMass. It's a better situation. So, sometimes depending on the situation of the kid, it's not always better to go FCS. Now, it depends. But the whole D3 is not the 13th grade of high school football. I can tell you that. So I don't know why that mantra still lives, but it's not. So, I tell any coach or any kid, if you think it is, come see us practice, come see us play. And you'll understand very quickly that we're not the 13th grade of high school football.
That's a fact. And there's always, what I heard, you got D1 players can't pay their child support, D3 players running Fortune 500 companies, and you have a great alumni system at your school.
Yeah, at the end of the day, again, our sole focus isn't you have to go to the NFL. If it's an opportunity that you fit the mantra, then yeah, we'll obviously help you get there. But our big thing is academics. Our job is to have a great football career here, win as many games we can win, try to win championships, obviously, and then also get a great degree, get great grades, do paid internships, and go out in the real world and make a great income. So, and have great quality of life. That's the whole point. College is supposed to be a launching pad to bigger and better things in life. That's the whole point of it. Because if there was no value in it, then why would you go? So, and that's why we do what we do in our program. So, again, any opportunity at any level of collegiate football in a good program should not be ignored. And there's kids that ghost us and then come back around on the back end, recruiting when all their D1 things are vanished. And depending on how that kid acted will dictate if we entertain him or not. If he acted very inappropriately, we're not going to entertain him because that means that's who he is. It's his character. So I tell kids, don't ghost coaches. No matter what level it is, don't ignore coaches because there's a lot of kids that would love to be in that kid's shoes and aren't because they're not good enough or not talented enough. And let it play out. Entertain every coach's, recruiting, apply to the schools, especially if they give you free waiver codes, and see how it plays out there via money and situation. And that's probably the best way to do business. If somebody came to you and said, hey, it's not going to cost you a dime. We're going to give you an offer on a mortgage, and it's not going to affect your credit, and you have multiple companies doing that, then what's the hurt? Nothing.
And it's disrespectful on top of it. Somebody reaches out to you, you should at least have the respect level to at least reach out to them.
I got a
Yeah,
question.
it's not smart business to burn bridges. It never works well.
Agreed.
I got a question.
Coach Walker needs to Coach Walker, any last questions before you leave for Coach McCormick?
No, I appreciate all the.
No, I think
he
answered everything for me.
And you're basically from Maryland.
Could I have your Twitter, Coach?
It's UMass D Coach MCC.
Okay, all right. I'll shoot you a follow.
I'll put it in the comment section. And thank you, coaches, for coming on. Thank you, Coach Walker. Really, really appreciate it. And we'll definitely talk soon.
Definitely.
No
Coach
problem,
Walker had to go. This is a great platform that we have here going. And I thought it was a great idea to bring different coaches on today, talk about the transition from youth to high school. What's the transition from high school to college?
The biggest thing is I always laugh. Our check-in day with a freshman is always eye-opening because all the recruits that are coming to us as freshmen, they all visited, but I think they forget how much bigger our kids get just from that February visit, that January visit, that fall visit to the next preseason. And so what happens is, the freshmen will start coming in and they get checked in through a whole process. And in the meantime, the upperclassmen are already pre-screened, will start coming in to go test for their lists day one of preseason. They walk, they're all walking in outside the training room, and are freshmen with their parents, mom, dad, or both, sometimes siblings. And as the upperclassmen are walking by, they're already in the optimum shape walking preseason. They've been training hard all summer, bulking up and getting as big and strong as they can to get ready for preseason. And that parent will pull me aside and say, "Hey, coach, I thought this was D3." I said, "Yeah, why? Like, these kids are massive." I'm like, "It's college football." And that's usually the funniest interaction. And it happens at least once or twice every preseason here. And literally, it's crazy. Because they don't realize how big our kids really are.
No, you have some really big kids.
Absolutely. I
The
mean,
kid from
Tyler,
Barterville,
6'5", 6'6".
DeCharo, he's a mutant.
He's a different cat. He definitely is. So is Gimmer, our right tackle, the other tackle. They're both big athletic dudes and great kids and great players. And the whole offensive line's really good. I mean, it's not just them. I mean, we got some big guys over there. Some really good people on the field and off the field. And it's eye opening to the parents, and they see them. They're like, "Whoa, so
Yeah, Gimmer's a good kid, man.
Players, they're not high school kids. They're older now. They're more developed. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the funniest thing. I always laugh at that interaction, but it just further says what I've been saying is D3 is not a joke. It's not high school football. Not that high school football is a joke. It's a much bigger step.
So, Coach, how important is the SAT or these big placement tests? Is it still?
So I think the NCAA is eventually going to phase the SAT out. There's been serious talks about it. We are now SAT optional, and so is a lot of schools. I would say more than 60% of schools across the country are going SAT optional. I tell a kid, if you don't have a good score in the SAT, do not submit it. Do not submit it through your guidance department, and your transcripts. Don't submit through the Common App. The rule of thumb is this: if it's not at least a 1040, 1050 minimally, and no side in either the math or the verbal is too much off balance, then that's the minimum bar. I would not submit anything underneath it because there's no point. It looks bad, and it's a negative thing. If you have 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, you should submit it because it's going to garner you more merit money from that university. Your grades are what's most important. The courses you took, and the grades you get. I tell people Fs are death. Don't get Fs. Ds don't get degrees, so don't put them on. Don't have Ds if you can. C's are not horrible, but it shouldn't be more than 20% of your entire transcript because, again, it's an average over 4 years. I mean, you want to have mostly A's and B's in good classes. So, the only way a college won't really hammer you on a C, if it's like an AP class, it's crazy hard. Like Chem, AP Anatomy and Phys. If you got a C plus, school's not going to kill you on it as long as there's not multiple C pluses on that transcript. So you want A's and B's, and your grades really matter.
Thanks, Coach. Hey, so how do you think? So I know the transfer portal has always been a big topic, right, this year, and it really affected. Maybe I would assume, obviously, you would know better than all of us, how much that affected recruiting for the kid that's for the high school kid trying to get in. And do you see this being an issue, say, next season and the season, in the foreseeable future?
He'll be right back up, Najee. We actually just lost him. He's tapping back in right now.
Hey, man, that was a good one, man.
That was a great question.
Oh, and, man.
We'll get Coach McCormick. He's back up now. Coach,
you owe me a coffee, bro. You owe me a coffee.
We'll wait for you to get Coach McCormick. That transfer portal is definitely a great conversation to be had, and we'll give Coach a minute to
hope he's got time. I knew that was going to take a few minutes.
And big shout out to, let me give my sponsors some love right now while we wait for Coach McCormick. Big shout out to Rally Point. The only way to stand is together. RallyPointMinistries.org. They're doing a lot for the young men in this area. We're in the biggest era of fatherless homes, and I think we need places like Rally Point and mentors. Um, and I think there's, especially the inner city schools, there's a big need for what I call, a lot of people call him the OG or whatever, the older guy from the neighborhood that maybe he did get into a little trouble back in his day, but some of these kids really relate to some of them men from the community, and we have a big need for mentors. So big shout out to West Pennington, Rally Point, everything he has going on. But hopefully Coach McCormick will tap back in. It's been a great, great show. Big shout out to Beast Coast Football Factory doing their thing over there. Coach Najee, I salute you, everything that you have been doing. You've been going hard in the paint, as they would say.
Hey, hard in the trenches, big dog. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man. The
Nah, man.
trench.
You know what, man? It's all about strengthening our players, bro. And that's kind of my driving force is to make sure that all our trenches, in particular, I know we end up working with a lot of other different skill sets, but to make sure all our trenches, man, are quality, and that these kids are getting the work, and that all of us continue to believe in the skill set and the passion that they have for the game, which is the unsung heroes, man, and to kind of always give them a platform, to own their size and to own their skills, right?
Right.
So that's what we strive to do, brother, and to keep encouraging the game, man, and encourage coaches to also keep getting better, man. I love to have guys in, and we just sit and chop it up about football, man, and strengthen both our skill sets every single day. We always strive to get 1% better. I hope everybody does, and I know I'm on your side, bro. If you're in the game, man, you got a teammate in me, and we'll always chop it up. And I'm always looking to make my brothers better.
And I love doing these Sunday episodes where we can get coaches from all around the country. And I'm sure, shout out
Absolutely.
to Coach Nadim, man. I tried to get him up in the piece, but I think he had a breakthrough scrimmage going on with beat behind the pads breakthrough.
Man, Coach Nas is an awesome dude, man. I've known Nas for years. I played football with Nas at the semi-pro level. I've coached with Nas at the semi-pro level. Man, this dude is an awesome dude. He's super passionate about the game. That's one thing, man, that me and him share immensely is incredible enthusiasm on the field, especially on sidelines, man. You're gonna hear both of us. Microphones are not needed, neither are whistles.
No, salute to
And
you, and I can speak
I'm sure
from.
Coach Felix. I'm sure Coach Felix the same way, man. We're just and all the coaches that really come on this platform, right? I know we talk a lot here, but our skill set is in being able to teach and get that through to our youth, and not afraid to teach the kid that swims upstream, but just to teach him to not stop swimming, right? And that his path is just as important as anybody else's, man. And these guys out here that are getting these kids places that they'll never be outside of football, right? Outside of the opportunity, and to show them that it's more, and to use his organization's name, that there's a lot more behind the pads that we have to nurture. And
Big
shout out to
salute
those
to
dudes, man.
Coach Najee. My condolences to your grandmom. And like I said last week, this show is well dedicated to the life of that lady. I love everything that Coach Nadim does. They actually canceled the scrimmage. Scratch my head. My kids run up chimneys for smoke. We never duck smoke.
That's a good line, man. I might have to use that one.
Let me play something real quick that I put together for Coach
I
Nadim.
like that.
I two-step and do my own dance. I ain't rocking shit else. I wear my own brand. Ball game everything. Ball game snapback. Ball game V-neck. Ball game backpack. Ball game.
We strapped in, salute to behind the pads. What I like about my program, and I hear it from a lot of people, that I give coaches, no other media outlet will let you guys say what, like, you guys have the platform to say how you feel good, bad, indifferent. I'll always allow coaches, and a lot of media platforms will not do that.
Unfortunately, but you're in it for the right reasons, Mike. Like I
Yeah,
said,
that's
guys
a
like
fact.
guys like Stan, anybody out there that that we didn't mention that's out there giving our youth the opportunity to do big things, man. Shout out to Emerson, and other guys doing the line things like myself, man. And we, really out there just trying to shape the game in a whole sense, from the refs to the coaches, coaches to the players, and then obviously trying to sprinkle that knowledge onto the parents too, so that we all grow in a whole sense, so that village strengthens.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
You're absolutely right. And me and Emerson are working on getting together, bringing a lineman camp to Rhode Island, and then maybe eventually, who knows, seeing how it goes, build from that, because we definitely need lineman camps, lineman competitions. But let me get these sponsors out the way real quick and appreciate everybody that helps us make this possible. Big shout out to Voice Sports. If you have a youth game coming up, Voice Sports will come to your field, interview your kids, live stream the game, and do the PA announcing. They'll travel to you. It don't matter where you are. If you guys can make it work, definitely big shout out to Samson the Bad Guy, the Professor. Voice Sports reporters in 22 states. So this show will also be streamed in all 22 of them states. You're looking to buy a house, call a banker, Mark Wright Coastal Homes. We support people that support youth sports. And the Unfinished Business Tour coming up, man. Like I said, Voice Sports is on a tour right now. It's all about promoting the youth consistently. Voice with a Y, because it's a selfish letter. But big shout out to them guys. But Coach Fitz, you've been quiet, man. Are you enjoying the show?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the show. I'm just taking everything in. I've kind of just been letting you guys take the wheel. I'm learning a lot, learning
Yeah,
a
that's
lot.
a fact. You're always welcome to come on.
Oh yeah,
Like I said, if you or any other coaches want to come on, follow my platform, Can We Keep It Real podcast page. This streams live on Twitter. It's also be on iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify, Apple, iTunes. Like, I'm building to be the biggest high school coaches platform.
definitely. I mean, I love what you got going on right here, man. It's more of this is needed. This is a brotherhood what we got as coaches, man. We need to be able to lean on each other and help each other grow, like everybody is saying. This is good that we just have, just some place to outreach and talk and fellowship, man. I love all this what we got going on right now, man.
And we keep it real. Like, we don't do no sugarcoating over here. I don't allow it. I don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to talk to me like you would if we was in the barbershop.
Definitely.
And salute to Jimmy's Barbershop in Johnston. We're going to probably have a show coming up where we're going to be doing once a week in the barbershop, kind of like Matt Toffett does on My Expert Opinion. I think that's going to be a dope concept for a show. We'll be down in New York pretty soon with Voice Sports. So, yeah, we're just building a great high school platform with help from some of the sponsors, from some of the private donors that have been helping out, coaches like Coach Najee, Coach Dunbar, Coach Blake Simpson, Coach Charlie Beeball, Cliff Fulton, my guy Kenny Long down in Texas. You might know Kenny from Friday Night Tykes. He's the PA announcer on Friday Night Tykes, and I have to run and get my Chargers. So, Najee, why don't you break it down and let us know what you've been doing at Beast Coast?
Well, we've been working with a variety of athletes from all over. We grind it every day, man. Just trying to give the kids that are willing to work every day the platform to do so. Whether that's watching film, but it's always just trying to hone their craft, whatever that craft is, position specific. But it's always on growth. Like we said, we strive to get 1% better every single day. Whether that's lifting, but it's just offering mentorship and growth every day. At least we try to. weather's not an issue because we're indoors. Yeah, we got the weight room set up, the field room. So these kids come in there and they work their own situation. If they already have a plan that's in place through their coach or their system, they come in there and they work on that. It's like you said, it's every day. They have to. It's all about repetition, and it's just giving them the time and place in order to do that, and hopefully having a conversation with that coach. Like I said before, to make sure that we're always on that kind of time. But also now offering coaches a spot for them to come train their athletes, right? Because sometimes you run into a situation where you just don't have the opportunity to do that and to get in front of your players and to have them under your tutelage all year round. So I encourage coaches, man, to bring your kids and yourself to the spot, man, and keep growing with your team, especially O-line and D-line coaches, where you can get with your units and do that. So
definitely.
Coach Fitz, what's your biggest pet peeve about your area football?
My biggest pet peeve, I would possibly have to say, I mean, outside, like I told you, FHSAA, with all their rules that they have all the time. But outside of that, I would just say the open enrollment they have in Florida. Like a kid can play, let's say he could play at my school and the rival school can like him. And because we have open enrollment, he could just pretty much transfer to that school and it's nothing you could do about it. I don't really like that. I understand it's the belly of the beast, but it could just get frustrating at times because kids can just quit on a certain situation and go to another one that they feel is better. But I know all of us have that situation and stuff that we're working on. I mean, I really don't have too many issues that I have with everything. I try to stay as positive as possible. I mean, it's hard. It's definitely hard, especially the situation I'm in. It's hard on me, financially doing stuff, because the pay's not the best, but, just got to suck it up and keep moving forward. You can't cry about it.
Turn your radio down a little, Coach. Coach Nod, man, what's up?
What's up?
All right, man. This is Coach Nadeem Robinson. He runs Behind the Pads. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about what you do at Behind the Pads?
At Behind the Pads, we turn boys to men and men into champions.
Hey.
And you climbing chimneys now? You climbing chimneys too?
Chimney sweeper.
Right, BTP chimney service coming soon.
we looking for smoke, coach, and everybody ain't nobody want to give us no smoke. Like we get cancellations because of the rain, bro. You know how many times my kids play in the rain, man?
Rain. What's going on, Coach? Good to see you.
Coach Najee's here. We also have Coach Fitz. Fitz, where you from again? Introduce yourself to Coach
Fitz. I'm from Orlando, Florida.
Peace, Coach. What's good, Coach? Hey, I appreciate you, Florida boys. Man, my focus is to come down there and bust y'all ass. I appreciate you, Florida boys.
Hey, we got a nice table for you. We got a nice table for you, man. You can sit down and watch how it's done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is what my network's about, bringing coaches together.
Definitely, man. It's beautiful what we got going on here. I'm going to try to get the rest of my staff to come on here for future dates. I just kind of found out about this last minute, so everybody has stuff to do, but I'm definitely going to try to get them to come on because we can all learn from each other.
Yeah, that's a fact. We're going to be doing this every week, probably. I do the podcast about every day, and it streams worldwide. I was very surprised to find out Vietnam in sports and football. I'm inside the top 100 for podcasts.
Oh, that's dope.
Really?
Yeah, I was like very, very surprised. Just like Verse Trackers, they have these trackers that track podcasts, FM ratings, and my out of the country numbers are pretty good. On my audio version, I'm well over 150,000 audio downloads, just in youth sports alone. So
that's dope.
It's a lot of work. We're worldwide. So if you're in Uganda, you want Behind the Pads to come out to Uganda and play some football, set it up.
I like it.
Set it up, man. Set it up.
Now, Coach Nod, you just came back from Vegas. How was that experience?
The Vegas experience was insane for me. I mean, as a grown man, that was my first time in Vegas. And when I started behind the pads, when I started BTP, I told my wife, I said, man, these kids are going to take us somewhere where we never thought we'd be, man. And then for us to be like 3 years after starting BTP, we headed to Vegas. I looked at my wife like, I told you. She's like, yeah, you know what I mean? So that it's dope, man. To have, it's not us, man. I'm just a vessel, man, for these kids, bro. It's these kids, they do it. I don't do nothing, man. I just set it. I set it up, and the kids knock it down, bro. I don't do nothing.
Coach Nod said, bro. "Will call. I'll be in that will call line. Have my tickets.
That's it, man. You already know. These kids go to college. Just have my name. Have my tickets at will call. That's all I'm looking for. That's it.
Coach Najee doing his thing. The guys I come on my platform are very definitely I call you guys all the OGs of football. For one, you're willing to come on my platform. Salute to you, which a lot of coaches are not. But that's on them. But Coach Najee, Coach Nadeem, what a lot of you guys are doing, Coach Hurlin Perry, salute to you guys. Even the OG Richard Addison, man, got all the smoke.
Hey, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt, but I definitely gotta send some kind words out there to my bro, man. Najee Barros, man, him and his brothers, Ibn and Reem, man. Najee, Ibn and Reem, bro. I love them dudes, man. 3 brothers. Their mom, Miss Roberta Barros, she did an amazing job raising those brothers, man. They're righteous dudes. I couldn't ask for more as friends, man. But Najee himself, bro, like I said, man, me and that, we don't need no microphone, no whistle. Me and that brother, straight passion, man. To the bone, man. Official to the bone gristle, man. So I really appreciate Najee Barrows. We may not agree with everything, but at the end of the day, you already know if you're about the kids, I'm with you.
I hear that about you. I hear you don't agree with everything. Yeah, salute to Coach Najee, everything he has going on. Salute to what behind the pads. These are the OGs right here. These are the coaches that are going to tell you how it is. They're always willing to hold it down, keep it real, keep it authentic, and always keep it 100.
Facts. Official to the bone gristle.
Absolutely, Coach.
Yes, it is. So where's your next event, Coach Najee? I mean, Coach Nadeem.
We're going to Kentucky, March 19th and 20th. 17 will be in Kentucky. We're playing in Louisville, the Shock Doctor Tour. Right after that, the next week, our 12U will be in New Jersey, playing in the flag football March Madness. The following month after that, our 17 will be back in Maryland, playing at FedEx Field. We play at FedEx Stadium, Team Washington Stadium.
Nah, that's still Redskins Stadium. And you're definitely going to have to hook up with my guy over there, Wayne Matthews, Voice Sports. I want to get him to come down and and hook you up with the whole Voice Sports entity. But they have great things that they have going on. He was excited to get to meet you on his tour. Actually, you actually know one of the guys that are running it. If I'm not mistaken,
Tico Hamley, Sports Farm. You know I'm a Jersey boy, man. That's Jersey right there. You know what I mean?
City.
That's Jersey. That's Jersey. You already know. If anything pertaining to my state, my home, I already know about it. As soon as he said Sports Farm, I knew what it was.
Yep, the Sports Farm Youth All-Star Weekend with Tico Hamley, Atlantic City, New Jersey, April 23rd and 30th. And then the DMV Mid-Atlantic High School Football Showcase with Hans Hugh in Landover, Maryland. They have a whole tour. What my guys at Voice Sports are doing, they knocking it out the box. They'll come to your field. They'll interview your kids. They'll live stream your game. And they'll also be the PA announcer. Definitely give Voice Network a call for sure.
Hey, Mickey. Hey, Mick. Hey, remember I just said they canceled the scrimmage because of rain, right?
Yeah.
Bro, would you look at the freaking sun out here, man?
It's beautiful out there. What you want, Mount Pleasant Ave?
Yo, is that duck and smoke or not? Any coaches left on this live, man? Please tell me if this ain't duck and smoke. That ain't. Come on, bro. Plus it's raining. It ain't raining.
Najee wants all the smoke, travel leagues. I got a team down in Maryland, the Seahawks, that they said they'll come here one game and then you could go there one game. Jarvis Landry,
What's that? What's that? Tackle, right?
yeah. Oh, you don't do tackle, right? You like flag and stuff.
Who don't do tackle?
Oh, I didn't. Oh, the behind the pads do tackle inside
Nah,
the
not behind.
pads.
Nah, you know I'm a Mount Hope Cowboy coach.
I just posted somebody has like 30 youth helmets, all 2022 certified for $350.
Oh yeah.
I'll
But you
take
know I
it.
coach at the Mount Hope Cowboys, so
Tell them to DM me.
Oh yeah, it's actually in my stories on Facebook though, but this is a great network for all this stuff. The New England Intruders, they were actually called the 401 Intruders. They went down there to Maryland and they got spanked. They got embarrassed. Coach Matt Washington brought a team down there. Salute to him, but they were playing Jarvis, the Maryland Seahawks, which they're no joke. They got a great team. But if you're gonna bring a team down there, bring a team that can play 4 quarters. Look at my man's face. You know me, man. I just gotta call it like it is. I definitely call it.
So they got shot.
They got they the first half was okay, and that's what you see a lot of teams from Rhode Island do. They travel out there. First quarter's okay. The second quarter they look good. Third quarter and fourth quarter is like they didn't even show up.
So what do you think that is? So
Why
what
don't
do
you
you
tell
think?
us, Coach Najee? Tell us.
No, well, I'm asking. Like that's something I'd like to ask Coach Nadim for any of our viewers on for a coach that travels nationally or say you're speaking to a coach that doesn't have that experience. What would you say is the biggest hurdle for why maybe we don't have the best national competition record? Right? What is it that maybe separates our kids on a national level?
There it is. I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you the truth. Two reasons. One reason, because I've seen plenty of teams that were supposed to go take it down nationally, and they could have, but they didn't train hard enough. So the training is one. They're not training hard enough. The boys in the rest of the country, they're training different. You know what I mean? In order to
Can
be
you elaborate on that, Coach?
train like an underdog, perform like a champion.
Well, so that would naturally. Would you believe that starts from the top? Is that a trickle down effect learned from the environment that the kids exposed to? Are we talking to the coaches and trainers that are shaping these young men?
We're talking to the coaches. I tell you that there's two reasons. One reason why is the training. We're not training our teams hard enough to go compete down there. And the second reason, here's the second reason. Sometimes you just ain't good enough.
That's an absolute factor, brother. Absolutely. But let me ask you this. So let's talk about the training, Coach. What if do they need to really? What training are we talking about here?
Well, it depends on what you're going to do, Coach. If we're going to play tackle, then you already know what we got to do. If we're going to play 7v7 or flag football, train and prepare yourself for what we're going out here to do.
Do you believe Rhode Island football is on par nationally with what we're teaching on a football level?
Is Rhode Island up to par nationally?
Well, as far as our approach to the game is what we're teaching our kids, our schemes that maybe you've seen. 'Cause I know you also have experience coaching at the high school level. I know we're speaking on youth football, but we're both high school football coaches as well. So let's talk about our high school, because that's really the top of what what we aspire to in Rhode Island, right? Is at the high school level.
Yep.
So And let's, in your experience, you're coaching at the highest level in in our in our high school experience, right?
I guess so.
You have experience at one of our most winning programs, correct? Um,
Correct.
so let me ask you this. What position are you coaching at that program? You don't even have to mention the name if you don't want to, but what position are you concentrated on in that program?
I'm the receiver coach for varsity.
So is what you're teaching
I'm
emulative
can you,
of what? So what you're teaching is emulative of what you've seen on that national level, correct?
exactly what I've been facing on my 7v7 off-season tours. So I bring that home like that. That's why I appreciate what we do, because if you know me, Najee, you put me, I learn from anything and anyone. So if you put me in a position where I'm gonna learn. So I'm constantly traveling. I'm facing top-notch comps. So I'm learning from these guys. I see the way they perform. I see the way I see their athletic ability. I talk to the kids. I mingle. So I'm seeing it. So I like to bring that back home. But
So
what we have in New England, which is the problem. Here's the problem in New England. I'm gonna tell you right now, from a guy from the outside looking in. The problem in New England is talent. Talent in New England, as far as football goes, talent is like chocolate chips and a cookie. There's more cookie around here than there are chocolate chips. Whereas though when you go face the rest of the country, you're facing all chocolate chip, no cookie.
So
But
is that part of that sounds like a scheme issue, right? Is that just coaches utilizing trying to utilize those chocolate chips too much, or is that us?
no,
Or
no.
should we be focusing on, trying to make the best meal from the ingredients that you have, right? So is
You
that a
should be
scheme
focusing
issue?
on.
So what
You
if
should be
that coach
focusing
doesn't
on
have
making it.
those? What if a coach doesn't have those kids that could take the top off the defense? You as a wide receivers coach, what adjustments can you help that wide receiver coach that doesn't maybe have those dynamic athletes?
Scheme.
What should we be
Scheme.
talking about as far as scheme? That's kind of where I'm headed, coach, is
Scheme.
what schemes maybe, what tips can you help the the youth football coach or high school football coach just coming in, or maybe a guy that's willing to now learn something new? What have you seen out there that's maybe one or two tips that can help evolve our game on a whole sense?
Well, it's an all around nutshell, coach, as far as even coaching. Understanding the game that you're dealing with, even as a coach, like we said, schemes. Even as a coach, if you're facing a top notch, if you're facing a team, I've gotten my ass handed to me. If you're facing a top notch team that's better than you, well, then you better have a scheme to be able to move that ball. And there, bro, come on now. I mean, we're all coaches here. You should. That's my problem. I'm expecting everyone to have the same knowledge that I have, or the same knowledge of the game. I study this game constantly, and there are so many schemes and ways to leverage a defense. The game of
Yep.
football is about leveraging the defense. If they're in a zone, what do you do to a zone as a offensive mind? That's what you got to be, for one, if you're coaching the offense. For an offensive-minded person, if you're facing a zone, what do you do to a zone? You flood the zone. You put more people than they can guard in the zone. Hey, they're playing man-to-man. Oh, they're playing man-to-man. What do you do when you face man-to-man? Oh, you rub them off. You run rub routes, slant outs, post. You see what I'm saying? Post wheel. You rub them off. These are concepts and schemes that you got to have on cap already as a coach, bro. And if you don't have those, don't even begin to travel the country. I'm gonna tell you right now, don't even begin, bro. Like, you got to stay at home and watch more YouTube. But
So let me
like
ask
you
you
said,
this.
coach, huh?
So to play on that, not to interject, because that was a great point in what you said. So 7-on-7 is a very 5-on-5. I guess 7-on-7. We'll just talk about 7-on-7. 7-on-7 is a very popular thing nationally. I'm sure most would agree.
Yep.
How are you guys the guys that are really pushing the 7-on-7? We're really involved in that universe. Are you guys really striving to make sure that correlates and is still effective in the 11 on 11 traditional football game?
Let me clarify the question because my uncle called me. So you're saying is what we're doing correlating to what they got to do in 11 on 11?
Yeah, is it more focused on winning or is it more gimmick aspect plays? Now, I'm asking, say, from a person that's a layman, right? What is the benefit of 7-on-7 football? Does that really correlate to traditional football as we know it?
So for me, for a person running a travel organization, my focus isn't 7v7. My focus isn't 5v5. My focus is actually traveling, getting these kids from the state of Rhode Island out of here. And we don't have to go play 7v7 or 5v5. We could just travel and go somewhere. That's my number one goal as far as it equating to what they got to do, because in order for them to make it to some of the colleges that they're going to have to go to, they're going to have to travel to these camps. I feel that these kids need to be prepared to face the country. In order to prepare yourself to face the country, you got to get out in the country.
Absolutely, Coach. Absolutely.
Can't sit here in Rhode Island. So winning at 7v7, Coach, isn't my end all be all. We just went to Panama and went 0-4, bro.
No, not the winning, Coach. I apologize if you mistook my
I was about to go on. Like I said, like winning, that's not my coalition. What 7v7 does for skill positions does equate to what they got to go through in 11 on 11. So basically the aspect of the game 7v7 is going to prepare them for their fall seasons anyway. But my focus. Go ahead.
You ever run into teams that you feel are doing stuff that's just to win the game and not actually teaching proper football?
All the time, bro. I sat back last night and watched these dudes with these kids, like watching kids run these routes. Bro, you've been with these kids for 2 months now, and these kids still can't put the right foot forward when they line up to run a route. These kids are running. Yeah, they're doing that. Oh, listen, it's 2022. When you run routes and you still breaking down, beating the drum. Do y'all remember that old school shit? Hey, kid, run your route, run an out route. You beat the drum and then turn. If y'all still doing that, bro, that's what these kids are doing. This 2022. Running an out route is full speed and stride. You bang that inside foot and you turn out. There's no more beating the drum. You know how easy it is for a defender to sit there and watch you break down and then cut in front of the route? That's the problem I have. These guys are definitely not putting these kids up on a new age of what the rest of the country is doing. They're not, because the rest of the country's not beating the drum no more.
Absolutely, Coach. Absolutely.
That's a big fact. And another thing, I think, speaking of Bishop Hendricken, they're actually looking for the 9th, I believe, and the 2nd, they're looking for teams that want to play them. So if anybody out there in the audience is interested, high school level, you want to bring the smoke, Mass, Connecticut. I think he said Mass, Connecticut, New Hampshire. Definitely, they need 2 games this year. Nobody wants to play the Hawks. So let me know and I could put you in touch with the coach of the team. I just wanted to get that out there.
That's unfortunate that they can't fill their schedule. That's
well, here's the thing this season.
Testament to that program, man. You know that.
Facts. He won the top coach of the year on my show last week. Here's the problem with Rhode Island this year. A lot of coaches are not anticipating this. The league is picking 4 games. They're leaving it up to the schools to fill in the rest of the schedule, which is kind of insane because I know coaches that can't get 1 game filled on their schedule. And then everybody's going to want to play the better team because playoffs are going to go by points now.
Here's the secret that a lot of people might not know, Coach. The reason why the schedule and they did the divisions the way they did it is so that now LaSalle and Hendricken only have to play 3 in-state games to qualify for playoffs. Now they can play the rest of their season out of state, which is what LaSalle and Hendricken wants to do because they're getting competition out of state. You see what Catholic Memorial did to both of them. You see what New York did to both of them. You see what Massachusetts came down. I was at Marshfield, came down and gave LaSalle the business. You know what I mean? They're trying to face out-of-state teams where they can get competition because, like I told Coach Nah, there's not enough chocolate chips. It's too much cookie in Rhode Island.
That's right. And the other thing is, like last season, Hendrick and LaSalle played them first 2 games. So they come into the season without playing one Rhode Island team yet, and they already control the 1 and 2 seed.
Exactly. So now they only got to play 3 in-state games to make playoffs. So the rest of their season is just, hey, yo, I'm going to tell you right now, facing Catholic Memorial, any team in Rhode Island can go play Catholic Memorial, go play that Marshfield team and that Bishop Sycamore not Bishop Sycamore, that other New York.
Bishop Phoenix. Oh, yep.
They play that other New York
Iona.
team. You could do that, bro, and you'll be ready to play anybody in Rhode Island.
No, that's a fact. Catholic Memorial took it to LaSalle. They took it to Bishop Hendricken.
But
Great
Catholic,
quality programs up there now.
Catholic Memorial was impressive. I'm gonna tell you right now. I learned so much watching that game, man. Oh my God, bro! I studied the film. I studied the huddle after the game. The game is, oh my God, that Catholic Memorial, hats off to them. That program is insane. That offensive coordinator, he put up 49 points in 1 half in Hendricken's house.
Yeah, that's a fact. Keith Croft, salute to him. You know, he don't really get as much love amongst Rhode Island coaches because of the whole private league thing, but he actually won he became the top coach in our top 11 Rhode Island football poll that we had. And salute to Coach Croft, because even though he won 12 out of 13 championships, you still got to put it together every season.
Facts. But bro, I appreciate hollering at you brothers, man. I appreciate y'all. Y'all stay blessed. I gotta get out of here.
All right, Najee, man. Behind the pads, Coach Najee. Hey, listen, man. Coach Nod needs smoke. You can't be letting them kids climb that chimney. That's getting a little dangerous out there. But so if anybody wants to play behind the pads, link up with Coach Nadeem Robinson. # behind the pads. They on all social media outlets.
All right, bro. Be good.
All right.
I two-step and do.
Coach Najee, you still with me?
Still here for a few minutes.
Yo, this was a great show today.
Absolutely.
You know, it was a great time to network. I like to do these regular shows on Sunday. I think this is a good time, good date. And just to bring coaches from all around the country together. I had like 7-8 coaches that were planning to be here. But it was nice talking to Coach Fitz out there in Florida. We was talking to the coach from Ohio. We was talking to a coach from Maryland today. We had UMass Dartmouth, Ryan McCormick on, and I wish he was able to answer them questions about the transfer portal, because that's actually a topic that a lot of people are on. Coach Wes Pennington said, shout out to Najee. So, yeah, here it is, actually. You're getting love from all over the joint, Najee, you know?
Yeah, my dog Wes, man, that is an awesome dude right there, man. And, you know, it's a pleasure to know that guy and to be a part of, you know, anything that he's involved with, you know, because I also help out with the youth in West Warwick, the West Warwick Steelers and the Ocean State Steelers, which is their spring football organization. And I know Coach Pennington is, you know, I hope Coach Pennington, you know, shows up and is able to guide that youth, man, because they really aspire to play for him. I'm hearing a bunch of great things in the community about Coach, man. They really love Coach Pennington out there, man, and he's got a bunch of young kids coming to him that's raring to go and be under his wing. So
yeah, shout out to Coach Penn doing his thing, doing the Lord's work as well with Rally Point Ministries. The only way to stand is together. So definitely check out everything that Rally Point Ministries have. They have men's breakfast coming up soon. We'll have to get the date. Coach Penn also has his own podcast, and go get his book. He basically breaks down In the Smoker manhood going through, but he kind of breaks it down, you know, pretty much like cooking. But coming up next, we're going to have MG Bear from the Seahawks coming on to break down what they have going on in Providence. Free registration for that youth league. 15U. They have a lot of high school coaches up in their feelings grabbing some of these freshman kids, but we're going to talk to Coach Bear up next. Coach Najee, here we go. It says, yes, Najee, April 9th at 10 a.m. We should go raid his breakfast, Coach Najee. Free men's breakfast. I think I'm going to be there.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, Coach Beer, he's also a good dude, man. He does a lot for the youth in Providence. That's another guy that's a pillar in his community. The guy's been doing it for a long time, man. Another guy that's super passionate. Another coach, man, that does not need a whistle. He's there, man, and he fights hard for his kids, man. And anybody that's in his organization, man, you got somebody that's on top of it. Fighting for your best interest. I like that dude. He's a good coach.
Yeah, so definitely check out the he'll be on next, so tune in for him. Check out the men's breakfast. We're gonna get Pastor Wes Pennington up in here. Let's see, get the pancakes ready. I hope you're gonna go, Eddie. They're gonna have the whole 9. I hope they're gonna have bacon. You gonna have bacon, Coach? We'll be there. But Pastor Wes Pennington, great thing they have going on at Rally Point Ministries. Check out Beast Coast Football Academy. Factory? I always get that factory wrong. He said, absolutely, we going to have bacon. That's April 9th. You know what? And maybe we'll do a live streaming of the podcast, as well up there. But Coach Najee, what's going on at Beast Coast? Anything this week that people should get down there and check out?
Man, just make sure, man, when you come through, you can come through any day. Hit me up all the time, man. I'm always looking to chop it up, come through to the gym. But more so, coaches, bring your guys in. I'll give you somewhere, place for the train and get those trenches right, brother. So that's what it's all about. There's always something happening at Beast Coast. Just hit me up or follow the page and you guys will find out immediately.
You said my guys love Coach Najee, and I am thankful for him. And we're going to get down to Beast Coast Factory and do a live show over there.
Absolutely.
In hopes to get maybe Beast Coast on as a new sponsor. So we'll see how that happens. But Coach Najee, thank you. Much love, much respect. You already know where I am. So
absolutely, Mike. Appreciate you having me, bro. It was a pleasure.
Okay, Coach Najee, man, tuning in. Great shout out to him. Shout out to Pastor Pennington. Shout out to Coach Pennington. Shout out to Coach Eddie Insco. Shout out to Coach Flitz that came on the show today from Florida. Ryan McCormick. We had a lot of guests on the show. Maryland coach came on, talking about a private school, what he's up against with no youth football. But coming up next, we're going to have MG Bear. We'll catch up with Pastor Pennington, see if we could discuss his new book. Today, Coventry High School's banquet's going on as we speak. Third time's a charm. Coach Piver in North Smithfield, what's going on with your banquet? But everybody, thank you for tuning in. Always keeping it real, always keeping it authentic, and always keeping it 100. Don't forget, we now stream on Voice Sports Network, available in 22 states and worldwide. So check them out. And I'm going to leave you with the NBA going to a new basketball this season.
Oh, my goodness. Every GM needs that.
Oh, that's the play of the night so far for Miami. Wade, alley-oop to James. There's the exclamation point. Alley-oop to James. Another
alley-oop. There it is, man. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
No, baby, 99 ain't good enough. What's up? You ain't gotta lie.
Like, you really putting it...
Get ready.
ready, it's coming. You hunting or you running? Get ready, get ready, get ready, ready.
Let's go, come take a ride through my city life. See what my city's like. It's the city life, for some it's a shitty life. This is city living, mostly them city children. From my bedroom, see the lights of them city buildings. Ain't gotta act hard, private's my backyard. I run road out, you can call me a track star. And we a team, homie, all is one. I don't sleep until all is done. I ain't ruckus, so please don't call me Mr. 401. It's Mr. Rags, you can call me, I'm still in that 401. From where we was, look at all we become. For what it's worth, I put my all in the sun. Know that my city love it. My city's budget, about my city's public. Know how my city does it. Let me handle my city business. Then I ride you outside of them